My name is Catherine Gishuki. Studied at the University of Nottingham back in 2013-2014. I'm a lawyer by training, so I did LLM in International Criminal Justice and Armed Conflict. I'm working with UNAMID, that is the United Nations African Union Mission in Sudan, as a lawyer.
My name is Ronnie Mutua. I studied International Development Public Policy at the University of Manchester the year 2015-16. I currently work as a strategy analyst at One Acre Fund. Yeah.
This is Samuel Odao, cohort 2015. I studied at the University of Birmingham, management of special education and in developing countries. And I'm in consultancy and also the National Council for Persons with Disabilities. Thank you.
My name is Dorothy Muhebi. I studied at Loughborough University, 1989. I did a course on information sciences, and I work at ICRAF.
My name is James Njogu. I studied at the University of Warwick, cohort 2016-2017. I did an LLM in International Corporate Governance and Financial Regulation that was decorated with a distinction. I currently I'm a practicing practitioner and also a company secretary.
My name is Kuria Waithaka, University College London, 2006-2007, LLM in Corporate and Commercial Law. I'm currently Company Secretary and Chief Legal Officer at the Nairobi Securities Exchange.
My name is Emre Yüksek. I did Development Studies at University of Sussex. I'm a member of cohort of 2015 and 16. Currently, I am heading the Turkish Cooperation and Coordination Office in Kenya, Thika Nairobi office.
My name is Lorraine Wesonga, University of Warwick, cohort 2016-2017, Masters in Public Policy. I'm a policy research and advocacy professional. I'm currently a research officer at Partnership for Africa Governance Social Forum.
My name is Yvonne Tago. I was in the University of Bristol, 2016-2017. I did MSc in Public Policy, and I currently work as the Assistant Manager in Strategy and Policy Analysis in the Corporate Policy Unit of KRA.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Lomondi. I am a journalist and I work with KNCH.
My name is Angela Kabiru. I studied at the University of, I've almost forgotten. I went to the University of Surrey, 2004-2005. I studied tourism management, and I currently work for the National Museums of Kenya.
My name is Caroline Kogi. I'm not an alumna. I'm in communication and in program management.
I'm Eric Joroge, studied at University of Birmingham, International Development. Currently, I'm a Resource Mobilizer and Partnership Manager at Caritas Nairobi.
My name is James Mburu. I was in Cardiff University, cohort 2015-2016. At the moment, I'm a researcher and producer for the BBC, a program called Fact Finder. We debunk fake news across Africa.
My name is Yusuf Bashir. I was in the Queen Mary University of London, 2015-2016. I studied Masters in Law. Currently, I am practicing law here in Nairobi. I have my own kiosk.
My name is Rachel Muchira. I am not a Chevening. I am a linguist, and I work at the Moi University, Department of Linguistics and Foreign Languages. So I am a teacher, mwalimu.
My name is Petronila Mukaindo. Similarly to Daktari, I'm not a Chevener. I have studied, my master's was in multi-level governance at the University of the Western Cape, as well as the local university in international studies. I currently work at the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights.
My name is Margaret Jiru. I'm a personal assistant to Samuel Odao.
My name is Edith Alusa Bosire, and I was at Imperial College studying applied environmental economics. So that was in 2004.
I'm cohort 2000 and 2003, University of Nottingham, the university, LLM, in international human rights. I currently serve at the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights as a commissioner.
My name is Franklin Mogendi. I am an alumni as well, 2011-2012, King's College in London. I went to a department called War Studies Department, and I studied conflict, security, and development. Currently, I'm running a consultancy called Omega Risk Management, which is domiciled here in Nairobi, but with footprints across the country. And we do offer all sorts of security consultancy services. Allow me to welcome you to this conversation officially, and to really truly do appreciate the fact that you found time on a Friday morning to put aside much of what you're doing to come and be with your colleagues. So where are we today? 2019-2020 has been a year of a lot of challenge for not only the country at large or individuals, but also for the Alumni Association. We did have our grant given sometimes back in April of around £5,000. Unfortunately, we've not been able to do much of the activities that we had purposed to do. Reason being of either our commitments, our hustling, and not really finding time to do what we said that we were going to do. So in the last quarter, and our year ends in March, we're supposed to do quite a number of activities so as we don't have the money returned back to the kitty. We've basically done much, and this is one of the activities that we said we are going to do to have a dialogue. But importantly, what is remaining is mentorship. Sometimes back I put on our WhatsApp group that we are looking for people to go back to their schools and do some mentorship programs, to just encourage those young girls and boys in the schools that we used to be. And if you went to a school like me, down in the Mira farms of Meru, where people don't believe it can happen, then it's always important for you to go back to that school and give the hope to those who think that you can't go to Europe unless you are moneyed. Unfortunately, we had hoped to do 50 schools, but the able supporter told us to scale down to only 10 schools. And those 10 schools are supposed to be in those areas that we refer to as marginalized. How they are marginalized is a question that can have a debate on its own. So Upper Rift Valley was picked, some parts of Nyanza, Northeastern, and I guess Coast. We're looking for our members who come from those areas or who feel passionate about those areas to come forward, and we walk the talk. We go to those schools, to a school of your choice, a nice school of your choice, and just talk to the kids there and tell them what they can be able to achieve if they believe in themselves. We have very limited financial support, and I'm sure Anne, the Chevening officer who is here, will tell us how she can add more value to what we have in the kitty. The kitty is just to buy some water for those kids as you talk to them. But again, we've said we also need to get some books. Probably in your house, in your office, you have some books that you can donate to those who are going to those schools. So once we establish who is going to go to which school, we're going to give you a template, and then we are going to give you a package that you can take with you to that school which you want to go and mentor. So that's one of the key things that we want to do before the end of our year, which is between now and end of February. The other activity that we have to finish is having an AGM. As I've said, we are interim officials for the last 3 years or so. We need to have that confirmed by membership. When we met 4 years ago, we were only 4 of us. Myself, Jane, Kanogishoki, and Henry. The mandate that we gave ourselves needs to be, as the lawyers will tell us, needs to be regularized. And now that we have a wider membership, we need to do things the way they're supposed to do. That's why governance comes in. So we're going to give a notice in accordance with the regulations, probably before the next 21 days are over, and we ask all of you to purpose. Tentative date is on 27th of February. Again, the good support from the High Commission will be able to support that particular event. It will be like a half-day event. And we shall have an agenda, but mainly is to try to bring some sanity into how we conduct our affairs. So I'm also told for you to be able to engage in that kind of an AGM, you must be a registered member. Registered member means you have to have your membership acknowledged. You are members by default, by virtue of being an alumni. Now you need to have your membership by paying your membership fee. So between now and again then, our membership fee is always like 5,000. We've not been so active in paying that, but now I'm asking that we all purpose to do it so that we can stand on that day of 27th and do things the way they're supposed to be done. Details will be shared as we move forward. Quickly, the final thing is 2021-22 grant proposal has been submitted. I hopefully think so. Let me appreciate those that came forward and supported us in doing the proposal. The topical area, the grant proposal was based on mainstreaming disability or creating awareness around the areas of disability. It's an area that we feel that may resonate well with the donors, and hopefully they are going to give us some money for 2021-22. We shall keep on engaging more on how we can be able to build these alumni association and keeping the dialogues more open. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for the speakers who agreed to come and share with us their expertise, and for all the members who have turned up. Karibuni sana, and God bless you.
I basically take the opportunity to welcome you all to one of the Chevening Alumni Program Fund activities, CAPEF. And the BHC is very proud of the good work that this association is doing. So the CAPEF is very important because it supports alumni activities across the FCO network, and it enhances engagements and an impactful alumni network in Kenya. So these activities are very important because the FCO supports this network to create a positive change in countries, and this contributes to the UK foreign policy priorities and the UK values. So finally, I send my special thanks to Franklin, Jadida, Lucy, Jane in her absence, and all other board members. So your contribution to the association is incredible. You're always making things possible. You always make it happen.
So for today, my expectation is that we shall probably be in a place to agree whether we actually are in a particular class. We may call it middle class for now, but I hope that our panelists will help us decipher and understand the middle class. Having looked at a few definitions from maybe Charles Kenny and Nick Cheesman, the middle class are politically active, they have access to technology, they receive world news, and what interested me was that they're educated, and mostly they're privately educated in the continent, especially in Africa, or they have afforded an education abroad.
2017 was the first time in this republic where we found the middle class come up and say, hey, there's something wrong here. Remember the Nairobi business community? Whoever they were? Yes, that's an example of the shifting definitions of the middle class. But that was the first time.
So my topic is the Kenyan middle class, language and governance. The Kenyan middle class has often been accused of being the main reason things are as bad as they are in this country. We are said to be silent in the face of bad governance, in that we do not hold public officers accountable, we do not agitate for proper utilization of our taxes. We are often reminded of how the middle class has historically been influential in bringing about change, as in the case of the French Revolution. We hear this every day. So we prioritize survival. As Yvonne just said, you're worried about, if I go out to demonstrate, then I'll lose my livelihood, I'll lose my job.
At the end of the day, what are we doing? What can I do as a middle class, as a person in the space I am in, to be able to contribute to good governance? So, ladies and gentlemen, it will not be easy, but as Martin Luther King Jr. once remarked,
The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenges and controversy. I think that if as a middle class, then we do not do anything, at such a time as this, there are all signs, and there are all signs that help will come elsewhere. And those who know, I have actually extrapolated from one of the holy books. If we do not do our role, help somehow one day will come.
A lot of us in this room are automatically middle class. And without definition or without any clarity, there's nothing to argue about. The fact that you have access to this place, the fact that you have the luxury of time to sit and discuss about Kenya, you're very much middle class. You don't even have to be wealthy. You just have to have the luxury of time, because that's pretty much what it is. Because the rest of the country, you don't have that luxury of discussing the country. They're constantly going through it, so there's no time. They can't take a break. And if you belong to a class of people who can temporarily seek refuge, safety, security, escape from everything that is happening that is terrible in this republic, you're automatically middle class. If you can decide and say, I'm just going to take a nap for 6 hours and just forget that this is happening, you are middle class. So having little luxuries and privileges like those are things that we understand. And I think someone like me, I speak from places of privilege and I speak with authority of privilege, because I know my role and I know that I have so much and then there's so much expected. Good governance generally, and on the very basic of things, is what we hope we can have one day, sometime soon. And beyond just what democracy says about being a rule of the people, for the people and by the people, something that sounds very utopia, it is what good governance is supposed to be. It's where the most vulnerable, and the most vulnerable here are, you start from children. You start from people with disability, you start with the LGBTQI community, we start with people who live in the margins of Nairobi. Those vulnerable people, those people who rarely get services, those people who admire Nairobi because Nairobi is a place where dreams come true, apparently. Those people, if institutions worked, if leadership represented them, then these people would experience good governance. So it is talking about governance from a place of not just institutional and legal and very heavy text, but from a place of feeling. How do you feel about living and waking up in Kenya? And it is heavy for so many people. Lastly, because I don't want to repeat so many of the things that have been said, are the middle class aware that they belong to a certain class and can be of influence? Yes and yes. I think the only thing that holds the middle class back is the idea of thinking that change, and we are talking behavioral change, and now we're talking 5 decades of political culture, leadership culture, institutional plunder, social fathing, all of this. We're talking about doing it in an instant, and we're talking about doing it without consequence, which is the biggest lie. The consequence for change is very high. I have paid it very highly, and I don't think anyone who wants to change anything should claim they do if they're not willing to pay a price. So the questions are many. I think the idea of change is continuous, that it's a journey and not a destination. The journey of democracy is the same. And thinking that Kenya will be that country where just by one good leader or 2 or 3 or 4, even 1,000 coming forth, then we change. I think the idea is knowing now that we have to think very categorically around the progress of democracy and how we continue being democratic citizens, and that the role of changing countries, of changing cultures, of changing institutions is not an activist role, it's a human role. It's a citizen's role. So that it doesn't become a Schaefer agenda, or the people in human rights, or the people who are teaching, or the people who are writing blogs. It becomes everybody's agenda.
The change makers are in this room. I think when you wrote that letter for the Chevening scholarship, you promised the earth. You said, yes, I want to go away, and I will come back, and I will change my country. You said that with such conviction that you got this scholarship. You went all the way, you studied a very difficult course, and you came back. But what have you done with the promise that you carried? If you are not going to be part of a change, then you're going to have children who will live in a very difficult situation, exacerbated by you because it's already existing.
the issues of good governance and the role of the middle class and the role of Kenyans as a whole, it's a very complex issue, and there is no single approach to how then we can provide the ultimate solution to this very complicated, very complex issue.
So what can we really do to help ourselves and to help this country? Because we have had the privilege of living in other places where, in as much as you may not be extremely privileged, but you have access to good public facilities. You pay taxes for them and you get your money's worth.
We don't have to die to improve our good governance. I would like you to just go to the website of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights and read the 4 reports that we did in 2017, 2018 on the electoral process. And you see how the shifting image of the middle class is there and yet it is not there.
I'd like to ask, is there a financial bracket for the middle class? Somebody was telling me that if you earn between 24,000 and 200,000, then you're the quintessential Kenyan middle class.
Either way, whether you are spending or earning 200,000, I think it plays within the context of the country and the country's economic positioning at the moment. It plays in context with the economic positioning of the country. It plays in context with the key amenities, so the primary things that people are seeking. So it's the things that you're able to acquire, even with the choices you're able to make, consciously or not. It's the, it's the by the way conversation you will have about, I will use an alternative route when going to work.
I think in this country, the difference between the high class, or whatever you want to call them, and the low class is very wide. And that opens up a possibility of a definition of the middle class being divided into 3 other sections: the upper middle class, the middle class, and the low middle class, and even maybe more.
It's a huge group here of those who are on the threshold of the middle class, and as we were told, others who have skipped to the rest, the higher one.
So middle class, they're in the middle. They are not poor, but they are also not rich. These are the people who any tectonic shift in the socio-economic factors would very easily force them actually in either way.
And I want to know, as middle class, we are stratified, and I think that has come to the fore. But is there a way that we can bunch, and I want to know that I have a critical mass that I can go in with, or I can, we can hold hands, link hands together and move together as all potential leaders for the country who want to make a change for good. Yeah, and I don't just remain in my space and just say I'm comfortable and I'll do the middle class things that we all do to stay afloat and just to make myself and my family comfortable. I want to move out of that space.
We do have certain opportunities in our hands, and we have this privilege, but we don't seem to have a way of doing something collectively to achieve or at least contribute to the things that the middle class need to be doing.
Yes, we sit in our spaces, as individuals thinking that we are alone. We don't feel that there's a critical mass. Some of us want to offer ourselves for leadership. I do want to offer myself for leadership. But I sort of think I have fear. And the fear is actually, maybe it's not even so much inherent, it's from other people around me. But but I just want to know, how can I put myself up for leadership and know that I will make it and get there and serve the people, knowing that and I have a strong support network to make the change that we all desire.
Your fear is very valid. Kenya is a very violent state, especially when you're offering alternative thinking, alternative thought, alternative solutions. Kenya is a very violent state. It's a very extractive state. And then that's why I said we have to unpack the culture that has led us to where we are. And that is because every time I say something that happens to be the painful truth, it is always seen as an attack at someone.
I remember talking to some parliamentarians a couple of years ago, who are my friends, and they said, "Oh, Korea, when you go to that place, you don't know what happens. You just, you're sucked into this machine, And I'm sort of thinking, do I want to be part of that? These are people who are people of integrity, at least from what I knew, but they said when you go in there, it's like, the devil does take over on that end, and you're either with the devil or you're spat out. So I start thinking, so fear then becomes a part of me in that, do I want to be part of that system, or let me remain sane? And that a number of us probably don't offer ourselves for leadership, but I would like to.
Put yourself up for leadership and sell your ideas. Put your ideas in the market of ideas, and let's have lobby people or like-minded people to be able to make the difference. It will be frustrating. It will be slow. They say Rome was not built in one day. It is going to take effort. It's going to take persistence.
And so I would say that perhaps one should choose a struggle, and I choose language as my struggle, and that's why I will not tire to point out that the language we use when we talk about matters governance, consequences of poor, bad governance, the language that we use basically feeds our perception, our behavior, our tendency to just let politicians and public officers be, because the language we use basically, we are resigned, it's bora uhai and stuff like that. So
understand that these people who are holding these positions didn't happen from nowhere. They came from somewhere. They've been building this rotten system that is perfectly functioning. So remember, even the mess that is there is curated mess. It is fueled mess. It is supported. It works very well for the people who've built it. So if you want an alternative that works well for us, that protects us, that ensures that the things we want are achievable, we have to build it from the ground up. And it will take a while. That's why I said we still do it regardless of fear, and no matter how many times we fail, we keep at it. How many times has someone vied for presidency and never got it? They'll still vie in 2022, and we know them, and I'm not mentioning names.
Is it maybe necessary to teach students or those in schools about lobbying? Because we seem to know what we want. If you look at social media and chit chats with friends, you realize people know what they want, but they don't know how to get it. And so maybe how to organize and mobilize, all those kind of things.
Education has got to start from changing the language we use, because that's then going to change our mindset, and it's going to make us better advocates, make us better fighters. And should we teach lobbying in our schools? That was the question, and I will say yes, we need to. We are keen on lobbying to provide private solutions to public issues. So we are very good at mobilizing to construct a road or to patch up a road, instead of mobilizing to ask our county governments, ask our national governments to make use of the taxes that we so painfully pay to put up the road. So it's not that we do not know how to lobby, it's just that we do not do it as we are supposed to do it.
But now, as Cheveners here, I see hope. The fact that we are discussing this as a topic, as a concern for the country, and we are largely agreed, if not all agreed, that there is need for change, then you already have a constituency. I see a huge constituency around here. And the representatives here have their own constituents elsewhere.
But I would like to remind you that our first port of call for our interactions going forward is our WhatsApp group. Please, if you need people you want to hire, if you want to have change makers, your first port of call should be within the WhatsApp group. We have seen people get jobs, we have seen people get positions, get contacts through that WhatsApp group. So just be alive to that fact and more active within the group. I hope you're tweeting.